I'll fly, and I'll fly into the end of the sky. So I'll be the one who doesn't have to say goodbye.
Hello guys, I'm live reacting on this Grimdark reading called Horror at Dusk. It is 24 minutes and 14 seconds long. Is it Dusk from Clash of Girls?
Seriously?
Sorry, Upper Bloom. I really am sorry. And that's what happens to Celestia. Sometimes you don't see her because she's at dusk. Then it comes twilight.
Seriously? Then the sunset falls.
Yeah.
Or no, it's the sunset shimmers.
Yeah. Cue Upper Bloom.
Seriously? Seriously? Seriously?
Very sorry, Upper Bloom. I really am sorry. Okay, the Horror at Dusk. This sounds like there's a creature of some sort waiting in the shadows to kill or monitor a pony. I did get a notification on my phone about this, and it was going to be premiere, and I thought, oh, I can't watch its premiere. Oh, I know it's Upper Bloom base. Blooming marvellous.
Seriously?
Sorry, Upper Bloom. I really am sorry. We're going to get this reaction started in 3, 2, 1, go. That intro needs updating. Sparrow presents. Something's creaking in the background.
Shadows grew longer against the ground as the sun dipped ever lower beyond the horizon, casting hues of fiery oranges
Okay,
and
it's
reds
getting
amongst
dark.
the scattered
Okay.
clouds. On the opposite side of the sky, pinpricks of white light against the silken black backdrop of the night began twinkling into existence.
Twinkle,
From the
twinkle,
farmhouse's
little
top
star.
floor at Sweet Apple Acres, Apple
Twilight.
glanced forlornly out across the farm. She grumbled and flopped back on the bed as a single word pinballed around inside of her head.
Pinball.
Rounded.
Grounded.
Stuck in her bedroom while the whole
She
family
doesn't
was
have
out
a
having
cutie
a wonderful
mark.
time with Rarity and
Okay,
her
it must be
family,
before
Apple
season
Bloom
5
found
then.
herself wishing that Applejack had not taken Winona with her. She sighed regretfully. She had been tasked with cleaning up the barn that day. It had been dark within the structure, and none of the
That
oil
must be a
lamps
very
were
old
around.
vector though.
Her mind had been preoccupied on her evening with Sweetie, thus she hadn't been thinking too
With
clearly.
Sweetie? Is that
She
Sweetie
tried
Belle?
starting a small fire in the center of the barn with some straw in order to have some light. It would have gotten out of control if Big Mac hadn't been, at that moment, returning some of the lamps. No matter
Limbs?
how many times she
I know,
apologized
well,
for the incident,
Big Mac is
it was all in
concerning
vain.
the limbs.
What were you thinking? Dry straw light up like a hearthwarmer tree. You could have set the whole barn alight.
Oh dear.
Off to your room,
Im-
mister, because you're grounded for a week.
Come on.
Apple Bloom rolled onto her back and let her tail flop sulkily
Okay,
over
must
the
be
side of the bed.
must be summer then. Must be
Sighing,
summer.
She once more looked out the window. The sun was gone now,
That can be-
leaving behind a
Yeah,
dying
hay
yellow
and
orange
summer
glow in the sky
don't
above.
mix sometimes.
The dark blues and purples of the night were slowly inching into place. Off in the distance,
Is it
lights were
Children
winking
of the
to life
Night?
one by one. Apple Bloom murmured with disappointment. Nothing of interest was visible. She looked towards the horizon. The dusk light was almost gone. The
Alright.
few clouds that remained looked almost pitch black, practically invisible against the darkened sky.
Oh,
Once the sun
okay.
was
It's a
gone
moon
entirely,
moonlit night
Anything
then.
of interest would be almost impossible to
Luna's
discern.
not out then.
Apple Bloom frowned, squinting hard against the fading orange backdrop of the horizon. In the distance, a thick bog bank had formed, and it was slowly creeping its way over the farm.
What was creeping over
That
from?
sprung up rather quickly.
Oh
Apple Bloom
yes.
thought. In preparation for the oncoming cold, she fished out a scarf from a drawer and wrapped it
Oh,
around
thank you,
her
Apple
neck.
Bloom, for saving our
She cast
lives
one last look at the flock
in the
before
barn as
shutting
well.
and locking the
We're
window.
inside the hut.
She went from room to room, methodically securing all windows before heading downstairs.
Dr.
to
Carlstone's
repeat
very
the
happy.
process. The air was decidedly colder when she
Okay.
finished. For good measure, Apple Bloom decided to throw a couple logs on top of the dying embers of the fire. Feeling a little hungry and maybe hoping a light snack would help warm her up a
What?
bit.
Hang on,
She
you're
headed to the
trusting
kitchen.
young Billy
In a
to
short
make her
while,
own
she had
fire?
a small plate of sandwiches prepared, which she carried into the living room before she jumped onto the couch and nestled into it. The light from the flickering fire filled the room, casting dancing shadows on the wall behind her as she ate. The
It must be
crackling
very
of the fire
dangerous
her only
living in the
companion.
barn and you setting that
Apple
fire.
Bloom shivered as she wrapped the scarf tighter around herself. Quickly hopping off the couch to add another log to the fire, She paused when she
Is it
noticed
cold then?
condensation
I don't
forming
understand.
on the window.
I thought.
She mouthed this silence
Is it summer or is it?
before trotting over to investigate. Her hoof touched the window and came away wet. Quickly shaking the water off, she wiped a clear view of the outside world across the window and
wet.
pressed her face up against the glass. The lights from the front porch illuminated the world outside,
Concentration?
allowing Apple Bloom to see the fog
Yeah,
that now wafted to the fence that surrounded the house. That indeed had sprung up rather quickly. She hurried back into the kitchen where the family kept the flashlights. Snagging one, she flicked it on and off a few times to see if
They
it was
have
still functioning.
flashlights!
She'd better check on the
I mean,
animals to make
torches?
sure they were all right. The air chilled Apple Bloom to the bone as she stepped outside. The grass was wet and cold as she charged across the farm.
Okay,
tendrils
it
of
does
the
get
cooking
cold
fog
at night
lazily flowed
sometimes,
around
yeah.
her hooves
And
left
that is
at her
actually
legs.
due
Despite her
on
growing
the
unease,
grass.
Apple Bloom reminded herself that the sooner she finished, the sooner she could get back inside. The animals all seemed fine, huddling together inside their various shelters
Must
for
be
warmth.
quite a quiet night.
Although she could hear nothing but the sounds of her hoof steps, there was this aching feeling
And
that
wind
she was
as
being
well.
followed. Yet upon looking over her shoulder, found nothing.
Is it
That
a
didn't stop
fucking
her from
hell?
sprinting
Is it a
back past
ghost?
the house when she was finished. Reaching the porch, she wiped her hooves on the welcome mat before turning to gaze out over
It's
the farm
cold
one last time.
outside.
Beyond
cold
the
out.
gate, the fog covered
I actually
the
got
ground
the
as far
window
as she
open,
could see,
actually.
completely cloaking the edge of the apple orchard within a white veil.
It's supposed to be
Beyond
very
that,
windy
the hills
apparently.
were covered with a sheet of white that spilled down the slopes like river rapids in slow motion. She couldn't tell if the fog had reached the town, and considering how freezing it was out here,
I know, if
she
it's
wasn't too keen on opening the window to
foggy
confirm
outside.
that. It was then she was
Thank
struck
you,
by a
Apple
thought.
Bloom.
What if the
I mean,
town was
Sweetie
aware
Belle.
of this fog? Surely the Pegasi would know about it. If that were the case,
If
they would alert
it's foggy
Applejack.
outside, it's
Her
like a
whole family would
classic
come right
haunting,
home the
isn't it?
instant they heard about this and make sure she was all right.
That's
Who
a
knows?
classic
Maybe Rarity
sign
would
for
tag along and
haunting
bring
when
Sweetie
it's
Belle as
foggy
well.
outside.
Smiling, she turned about and trotted back inside. She locked the front door and hurried back to the fireplace.
It's like
and
it's
her
gonna get misty
sandwiches,
now
making
as
sure
well.
to keep an ear turned towards the front door for when the family returned. She finished off her light snack and turned to look up at the clock on the wall. An incessant
Ooh.
pounding on the front door caught her off guard, and she turned towards it with a startle.
Is it flush?
She
I want to
briefly
get
paused
in.
before starting up again. The family must be back.
I'm coming.
I'm coming, I'm
hollered,
coming.
Jumping down from the couch and trotting towards the front door. She paused halfway. Her family had a key. If they found the front door locked, they'd just unlock it. Why would they be banging at the door? Now alert, she cautiously reached the front door
don't
and
lock
lifted
your doors
up the
at
curtain
night?
on the window, peering out. Her eyes widened in surprise. A little filly was standing outside, just at the bottom of the porch.
A filly.
Her face was obscured by a long red mane, though Apple Bloom could see she had a pretty-looking pink and white
Well,
striped dress on.
Just let you know,
Despite
it's not
looking
Gallop,
relatively
alright? It's
harmless,
not Gallop.
something about the filly sent a slight chill down Apple Bloom's neck. She had never seen this filly at school before.
It's a demon!
Yes?
Yes?
I'm sorry to bother you. My doll is damaged, and I was wondering if you could lend me a phone
Is that-
to fix it?
That's the same VA doing that, isn't it?
Apple Bloom just stared back. Why was a young filly this far out of town at this hour? She glanced left, then right,
Is it a
unable
shipping?
to see anything else in the fog before turning back to the filly.
What are you doing out here all by yourself?
She's cold.
I was out playing all day, but I lost track of time. By the time I noticed it was getting dark, I was so worried that I ran home as fast as I could, but my dog got caught in a branch and was ripped. My parents would be awfully mad at me
I'm
if
hearing
I
a
got
hint
home
of
with a
Irish
bad
in that.
wound. So if I could borrow a sewing kit,
Wouldn't they be madder at you for returning late?
Yes,
I
she.
won't be long. I can even fix my doll right here in the wash if you want.
Apple Bloom's brow furrowed.
Fine.
Fine.
She fished out Granny Smith's old sewing kit and hurried back to the front door, opened it, and looked out at the filly. She was standing just before the porch, waiting.
What's
She
she
hooked
waiting
over
for?
the basket, and the filly smiled at her.
She's waiting for
Thank
Gallop.
you.
Waiting for Gallop.
She
Waiting
said
for Apple Bloom
softly
to follow.
before she started rummaging through the basket. Apple Bloom watched her from within the doorframe, eyes cementing a stern gaze on her. Suddenly, the filly's head turned.
Ooh.
Sorry to bother you again, but I noticed that you have a large stockpile of
Whoa,
straw
whoa, whoa.
inside your barn. I don't suppose
Her
I can trouble you
voice
for just a
kind of
small
changed there.
Apple
Like,
Bloom eyed her suspiciously.
what's the thing? Like,
How much was a small
the
amount?
energy is
Then
getting
again,
stronger.
How much could she carry?
So long as it's not too much.
Too much?
Thank you.
she said, and
Her
trotted over
voice is
to the
getting
barn.
clearer and clearer. Before
Apple
it
Bloom
was
watched
gonna.
her, walking
When
to
we
the
first
edge
heard
of
her,
the
it
porch as
sounded
the filly
muffled.
moved to the barn, quickly rummaging around through the tarp-covered straw pile sitting
This
in the
is
wagon.
like a demon
Thankfully,
filly.
she wasn't too difficult to
in a
see in
way.
the fog, though from what she could see, the
I'm
filly
just
was
guessing
pulling
at
out
the
way more
moment.
than what
It
should have
sounds
been
like
necessary
like
to
a
fix the
demon
doll.
filly.
Yet she carried
Or
it
like a
back to her
ghost
original
filly.
spot, sat down with her back to the porch, and she started working away.
That's a lot of straw, don't you think?
I have a big doll.
Don't you know?
Apple Bloom narrowed her eyes.
Can I see it?
You can once I'm done. I like you. You're really kind, and you share. I like
Whoa.
ponies who share. When I'm finished,
Why is she
would you
going
like
down
to
there in the
play with
first
me?
place?
Apple Bloom was starting to feel uneasy.
Shouldn't you be going home to your parents?
I already told you, they don't care how long I stay out. Just as long as I don't
Okay,
ruin
I
my
thought she opened the
ponies.
door though. She
Would
opened
you
the
like
door.
to play with me?
She opened the door.
No. I'm not supposed to have strangers in the house while my family is away.
No, you can't. You
You're
can't.
not very
It's
nice.
dangerous. Apple
I
Bloom.
only want to play.
I'm just following the rules. Besides, they'll be back soon. Have you finished yet?
Where'd they gone then?
I
Where
bet
did
you
the
have
Apple
lots
family
of
go
toys
then?
in your room. Really fun toys too, and games. Lots of really fun games. And pretty dresses, and name clips, and jewelry.
The filly
Jewelry.
continued, as if Apple Bloom hadn't even spoken. Then she stopped as if someone had thrown a switch.
Okay, Cole.
No sound
Start
passed
that.
between them.
Yeah.
A trickle of sweat slowly slid down the side of Apple Bloom's face.
You know what? You can keep the sewing kit. I got dinner in the oven, and I can't remember the
What
last
is the
time
sewing
I
kit to
checked
do
on
with it then? What's she?
I hope you
she
don't
making
get
something?
into too much trouble over your doll. So, bye.
Is she making a like a voodoo
Why
doll
won't
toy?
you play with me?
Apple Bloom paused. The filly was sitting with her back to Apple Bloom, only now her head was looking up, staring off into
You
the
just-
distance.
Allowing the demon, or
She has
is it a
all
demon?
those things and more.
It's not another.
She's just greedy.
Whoa, whoa.
That's it. Selfish.
Apple Bloom had had enough.
You sure this is
She
not
thrust her
Annie
hoof towards the
trying
fence
to
gate.
disguise herself
Okay,
as another
I'm gonna
filly?
need you to
Filly.
get off our land right now.
Excuse me. Could you give me your name then?
My
This is.
What?
Yeah, this sounds more
The
sinister.
filly rose and
There's
turned,
echoes
her face
now.
still
It
hidden
sounds more
behind her
sinister.
oversized bangs.
Actually, can I have a hoof and a limb? No, two. Could I also trouble you for an ear?
Now I don't like this filly.
Your tail looks
This filly
so
sounds
pretty.
demented
Can I
now.
have that too? And your nose
That
is
too?
like a fur? It's so
No, it
beautiful.
changes all the time.
Can I have
Ooh.
a coat?
Apple Bloom turned and bolted back inside, slamming the door behind her.
Lock the door.
She braced
Lock
herself
it.
against it.
Yeah,
as she
Apple
attempted
Bloom's
to
now
calm her
scared.
shattered nerves.
Hey, are you listening to me?
My family will be home any minute now. I should warn you, my big brother don't exactly take
Now she's got a
any
cutie mark.
trespassers on our land, especially practical jokers.
She screamed, trying to force some bravado into her voice. There was no reply. Cautiously, she lifted up a corner
Well,
of
Cold
the
Star's
curtain.
not here to save
The
you.
filly was still sitting where she had been the first time Apple Bloom had seen her. Only this time, she was looking up.
Looking up. Now that is not the sound of a filly. Okay,
She braced herself.
that is a
and like
totally
cat,
different
she leapt up into
ball
the air.
game now. We're talking
Before
about
Apple
a
Bloom could even
demon now.
process what had just
Talking
transpired, the sound of showering glass pierced the air.
a poker. Oh my god!
She hurried
A
over to the
potent.
kitchen and
A,
fished out
oh
dinosaurs,
my
carving
god!
them. Securing it between her teeth,
A
she hurried
poker-
over to the bottom of
Poker
the
dice.
stairs.
Just say it,
Looking
Mark.
up to the top,
Just say
she was
the.
relieved to see
freak-
nothing that
No!
couldn't be
I'm
there.
trying to stop
She bit
falling
down harder
down.
on the handle, and slowly, she stealthily climbed her way upwards. The lights in her room were still on as she reached
Poker
the
dice.
top. Aiming
Ah!
them forwards, she slowly edged her head
just
around
pick
the corner
up
of the stairs,
Twilight.
resting her gaze on the door to her
So
room.
like Twilight.
The light from her room was the only source of illumination on the top floor.
Yeah.
It spilled out into the hallway, lighting up everything around the doorframe. The first thing she saw were a few toys and dresses scattered at the threshold. Then she spied the claw marks, deep gouges that
The
ripped
spirit
walls,
is in the
ceiling,
house.
and floorboards around the entrance. It all formed a rough trail towards the darkened
I
hallway
think the
beyond.
spirit now is in the
Just
house.
before the darkness, the filly stood. Applebloom couldn't help but clench her teeth harder around the handle.
Is
the
it
fur on
cold?
her brow now matted with sweat.
Don't open the door.
Right. You do have such wonderful things. You are a very, very mean girl.
Oh, come
Oh!
on!
There goes Apple Bloom.
I only wanted to play with you.
The filly stepped forward. Now she was directly on the opposite side of the beam
You
of
think
light
it's a
coming
bit
from
wrong
her room.
wanting to
Apple
play
Bloom's jaw
with
locked in
Apple
fright.
Bloom in the middle of the
The
night?
filly's dress was tattered and torn.
With this
its front
sunset, if
taken
it-
what were
if-
suspicious
okay,
dark
if it's
brown
now dusk,
splotches, but it
Must
was
be
her
around
face that
7
drew
o'clock,
her
8 o'clock,
focus.
maybe 9 o'clock.
It was withered and wrinkled like a burlap sack. Her mane had been pulled back to revel button eyes and a mouth crisscrossed with numerous stitch
Is the hair
marks.
messy as well? Or
The
the
mouth
mane
open,
messy?
straining against the stitch marks like a cage. It held no teeth, but was instead just jagged lines that stretched around the muzzle from ear to ear.
Oh.
The mane itself was interwoven with long strands of dried grass and straw, along with gnarled
Okay,
vines
her hair's
falling in
messy.
tangles all around its head, as well as protruding from various seams in her dress. Then she saw what was behind the filly.
What was behind the
In the
filly?
darkness beyond, hovering above her, were a set of glowing red eyes.
Oh,
She couldn't see anything else.
it's a
Just those
demon!
eyes. The clattering of the
Oh.
knife escaped her ears.
This is no peeps.
My doll is damaged very badly. I told you I'd let you see
Why can
it when I
when the eyes come in, I see white lines going through it. Maybe
The
it's
voice
me.
hollow and deep came from the eyes. Applebloom's
That
mouth
is
hung open
a
in
bloody
abject
demon.
disbelief.
I don't have very many.
It's an evil demon,
You have
Apple Bloom.
lots of nice things.
I don't think you're gonna live now.
My doll is the only nice thing I have. Now look at it. It's ruined.
The filly
Those-
took another step
Those
forward.
eyes look like
It now
it's
stood in
growing
the light. and
larger.
Applebloom could see the stitch marks made from the string of Granny's sewing kit, from the jaw
It looks
to
like
the
it's
neck
getting
and
larger,
down the
but
chest that
it's
vanished
the eyes
into the
playing the
dress.
tricks, playing
From
the tricks,
between
isn't
the
it?
stitch marks, she could see the borrowed straw poking out.
My parents always told me not like to rough with my toys. I tried to fix it, but it only made things worse.
Apple Bloom, I'm sorry, you're done for. I'm sorry.
Applebloom was
It's
frozen
kind of
with fear.
taunting.
Her breath was lodged in her throat.
He or she?
Her limbs locked.
I don't.
Her eyes
I
glued
don't know.
to the horror
Okay,
before
maybe
her.
a filly, but in the voice or the demon might not technically be a filly. It could be a male or no sex at all. Oh,
The voice
Calm
was
down.
getting angrier now. Before Applebloom could even respond, the glowing eyes appeared to dim.
You have lots of nice things. So many. Why wouldn't you just give me a few?
those eyes look bigger.
Decided not to borrow a few things. I'll just take all of you.
A loud, high-pitched scream filled the air, and Applebloom recognized it as her own. She couldn't will herself to move. The filly creature began to move forwards. As it did so, something started to push from behind its face, pushing out at the muzzle, stretching against the wrinkled skin until with a sickening terror, it came
Oh,
away.
that sounds disgusting.
The face
Actually,
was now a bone-white cone, tapering with a blood-red tentacle. The front hooves bulged and exploded
Whoa.
to reveal a skeletal
Oh,
like
dear.
two-toed
Tentacle.
claws. Finally, the midsection
That
strained
sounds like
forward.
bones cracking, but
Vines,
what a sound
leaves,
effect!
Sticks and straw all cascaded forward, interlacing together to form an interwoven mess of nightmarish foliage. It continued its
Foliage.
advance,
Foliage.
emulating that of an octopus as
Oh!
it undulated towards her.
Sweet
The
Belle.
sight gave Applebloom the shove
Not
needed
helping.
to force her limbs to move, but she was still frozen with fear, so that only made her back legs give way. She had been at the top of the stairs, so her retreat morphed into a tumble as she fell and landed upside down at the bottom. At the top, the monster hadn't
I
ceased
think-
its chase.
Well,
It
the
moved down
monster.
the stairs, climbing to the railings
How
and
can you
clinging
escape
to the
from my?
ceiling.
She's
Its
gonna
bony claws
make the
reached
door
for
lock
her.
or something, or the
She
you
didn't
can't
scream,
get, it
but
can't
she rolled
escape because the
backwards
door's
onto her
locked.
front hooves, before propelling herself up and over to land on all fours. The claws slashed the floor where she had been just mere moments ago.
I want it. All of it. Stop being such a selfish pig and give it to me.
I do like
The
that
voice
sound
shouted from
effect. It's
somewhere
very
at the top of the
demonic
stairs.
sort of thing.
Apple Bloom backpedaled until she hit the sofa. The creature slashed at her, and she leaped. This time she wasn't fast enough, and a claw nicked her hind leg, drawing an inch-long gash across the exposed limb.
She's got blood down.
She cried out more in shock than pain, as she tumbled over the sofa, bounced off it, and landed on the ground.
Oh,
The couch lifted off the ground before being torn in half. Both halves were sent flying as the creature surged forwards.
Now,
It's
look
a-
at what you've done.
it's a demon, Apple Bloom.
Everything.
The disjointed, unholy voice raged. Apple Bloom gave the creature a quizzical look
But you
before
don't
glancing
sound
down
very
at her bleeding
trusting.
leg.
Demon. I don't know what your name is.
If you had been a nice girl and shared.
It began slugging towards her, and Apple Bloom backed away when it stopped suddenly. Apple
Stop.
Bloom paused. The creature appeared to be straining, but something was holding it back. No, keeping it at bay. Turning, Apple Bloom saw the fireplace with the fire still crackling away. She
Wh-
turned back to the
Why
creature,
is holding her
its
back?
body heaving.
Holding it
Beyond,
back.
she could make out the frustrated growls of the voice. Then her gaze zeroed in on the dry foliage that stuffed its body. Slowly, the warnings Applejack had given her about the dangers of dry straw returned. One corner
Is
of
it
Apple
demon
Bloom's
of
mouth
the
turned
straw?
up.
Demon of the straw.
You don't like fire, do you?
The voice didn't respond.
No. Your little doll thing doesn't like the fire. All those dry sticks and leaves, and especially that straw. One little spark, and whoosh.
Apple Bloom pointed
Is
at
that a
its body.
threat?
Looking up at the creature, she became confident in knowing what she had to do. The creature backed away, whilst the voice kept silent.
Apple Bloom?
Keeping her eye on the
Don't
thing,
think what I
she
think
reached
you're
over
gonna
to the
do.
wood pile and selected a thin log. Then lifting it up,
Really?
she stood on her hind legs, keeping the bulk of weight off of her damaged leg, as she unwrapped her scarf and wrapped it around the end. Then she stuck it into the fireplace. The scarf caught instantly, and she lifted on the log, holding it up
She
like a torch.
set the scarf on fire. Is
No.
that part of the demon?
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm not gonna set fire to your doll, and you leave nice and quiet like.
Do you
To her
think that's going to
surprise,
work, Apple
Crying
Bloom?
filled the air.
I just wanted to fix my doll. Why did you have to be so mean?
What's she being
Apple
mean
Bloom
for?
hesitated for only a second before she moved the burning torch closer.
I mean it. You
She's
had
taunting
to
the
count
demon.
10 before I start a bonfire. Right here, using you.
You can set the barn on fire?
I hate you. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
The voice screamed at her. Then, as if yanked by a fishing line, the creature abruptly flew backward and up the stairs out of view. Apple Bloom's head arched up towards the ceiling as
Dog's
she
going
listened
away,
to the
dog goes-
pandemonium raging upstairs as furniture and walls were destroyed. The voice screamed over and over before the cacophony abruptly ended with an explosion of splintering wood. There was a muffled thud
Well, the
from
barn
outside
is
and
not
hobbling
fireproof,
over the front
is it?
door. Apple Bloom threw aside the curtain to watch a fuzzy blur disappearing into the fog. She opened the door and waited until it was gone. Suddenly, for reasons she couldn't quite explain, she felt a pang of sympathy for it, though she didn't know why.
I'm sorry.
You ruined my doll. You're not sorry. You're not sorry at all. But you will be.
Silence reigned once more.
Well,
For a moment, Apple Bloom just stood there.
the
All
demon
around
is
her,
dead,
the fog was retreating.
but
The glow
demon,
from the town was visible from the
Apple
tops of the
Bloom's still
trees
in
once
danger
again,
as such.
while in the sky above, the moon now illuminated the night with its pale, white glow. She watched as the filly finally vanished from view before heading back outside. Retrieving her makeshift torch, she carefully roamed the house, once again punctuously checking the locks on all the doors
You're
and
going to get
windows.
people...
She paused at her now
If
ruined
Apple
bedroom.
Bloom's still alive,
Everything
you're going to
had
get
been
more of a,
destroyed. The bed,
grounded...
the wardrobe,
Then.
her toys. One corner of her mouth rose around the torch it held, exposing her teeth as a muffled snarl escaped. Her eyes roamed over the shredded remains of her best dresses. That monster deserved
Oh,
no
she's lost her
sympathy
cutie
from her.
mark again.
All her pretty dresses,
Sorry,
all her
sorry,
favorite
dog.
toys.
She lost her cutie
Gone.
mark
The
again.
sound of her front hooves slamming the door echoed throughout the night. How dare it accuse her of being selfish? Truly, it was the selfish one. Apple Bloom surreptitiously scratched at the gash on her leg. Trotting inside, she stopped at the massive hole that had once been a wall and gazed out towards the town of Ponyville. How long did her family plan to be staying at Sweetie Belle's house? Didn't they realize she had always
Yeah,
been
at Sweet
killed?
Bell's house. That's
How
why I get
selfish
old
of
come-ons.
She paused and thought. Sweetie Belle. She had staggering amounts of pretty dresses, and her toys. Sweet Celestia, did she have lots of wonderful toys. She smiled.
Oh,
They were
fucking
best
hell,
of friends
Sweet
after
Belle.
all. Apple Bloom was confident that Sweetie would share some, if not all of her toys with her best friend in the whole
Apple Bloom's
world.
been demented.
Sweetie Belle wasn't selfish,
Bloody hell,
and with
that's
all of her own toys and dresses
fucking
destroyed,
hell.
she'd understand.
She became the demon, in a way. Surely. It's kind of sort of. Fucking hell, that scared living daylights out of me. Well, it technically was night time.
Seriously?
Sorry, Apple Bloom. I really am sorry. Okay, that was Horror at Dusk, MLP Grimdark reading. It seemed like the end of the story, Apple Bloom died in the fire, or so, or was either died in the fire then came the demon, or she was still alive, then she is a demon on the inside. My thoughts, because I'm imagining that the whole barn was set alight, that she died in a fire, but her demon or spirits is still she became the demon as such with the cut on the hoof. Because when she killed the other demon, she became the demon in a sense. And since this demon, when she opened the door, this demon had red hair. Are we sure this wasn't?
Come on!
Are we sure this wasn't Apple Bloom? Was this Apple Bloom? Because she, all we know, it was got a red mane. I think. Was this another version of Apple Bloom? When the village was that another Apple Bloom? I don't think this would have started if Apple Bloom done what she was told about the straw, and the demon basically said, "This is the last straw."
Seriously?
Oh. Philly was a doll. Why did Apple Bloom think it was a filly then? Because it controls it like a puppet dipstick. Doll was a puppet? Was the doll alive? Or was Apple Bloom...
Oh, come on!
Really, Sweet Belle?
No, the demon was controlling it like a puppet. The demon was the red-eyed thing that you didn't even see at all.
Right.
It was literally a force controlling the doll like a puppet. The tentacle thing, yeah, that was the monster. The filly was a doll all along.
Okay. Right, let me
Boom.
just... In my eyes, Apple Bloom is dead. Okay. Apple Bloom is dead. And it feels like it's Sweet Belle.
Oh, come on!
It's Sweet... I was about to say Sweet Belle and here, oh, come on, seriously. It's Sweet Belle the next victim. Bloody hell, Sweet Belle. You heard what I'm saying then.
Apple Bloom's cursed. That's what she is. And yes, Tweebell is the next victim.
Okay.
Hello, people, by the way. I'm the reader of the story.
Oh, yes. Well, that's the end of that story. It seems like, is it a sequel sort of thing? That's the thing you just don't know. Like, what's going to happen next, as such. Hope you like this reaction, and all my reaction videos I do, and I will see you next time. Oh, yes.
And I'll fly until the